Hi there, welcome to the first of a series of videos in which I will give simple explanations of what monitoring, evaluation, and learning is. This is traditionally known as just monitoring and evaluation, and it is one of those arbitrary terms and conditions that shows up on your project requirements, and a lot of people just never really know how to go about this or why it's even there. So, this video will seek to explain monitoring and the purpose of it. And in videos to come, we'll go through evaluation and the newly introduced learning component, which is a critical feedback aspect of M&E. So let's get into it. My name is Muta Carol Chinyamakovu. I'm an M&E data specialist with quite a few years of experience, and I thought I would share what I've learned over the years with you. So if you are here watching this video, you are likely a project manager or a business developer, or the task to do the M&E on a project has fallen into your lap. So you are responsible for tracking the success and the impact of a project or a program, either for a research institution, maybe for a government department, NGO, or an international organization. I hope this video helps you to find your feet and get started. I will cover today, firstly, just questions that monitoring seeks to answer about your project, and then I'll give you a solid definition of what monitoring actually is. So, when you've got a project, suppose I have a basic financial skills training that I would like to deliver. And suppose that my goal is to have the beneficiaries of this training just be better at handling their finances, be better at things like saving and budgeting and opening bank accounts and that kind of basic financial skills. Now, when I'm planning the project, we have what we call inputs. The inputs are my materials, for example, my learning materials. It could be the venue in which I intend to deliver the training, any monetary or material or human resources that you're putting into the training itself. Now, monitoring will look at these inputs and assess whether they're accessible, whether they're adequate, and whether they're cost effective. So, is it easy for people to get to this venue? Is it enough to have a physical venue? We know now in the COVID 19 pandemic, you also want to have online options primarily, and the physical venue as an alternative. You also want to consider the cost. If you're giving basic financial skills training to people who don't have financial skills, you have to incorporate the idea that they may not have money to attend. And so, how do you adjust for all of those variations? So, these are some of the questions regarding the inputs. We also have the actual activities themselves. The activities in this particular example would be the training that I'm going to give said beneficiaries. And regarding the activities, we would want to assess how they vary across different sites. So maybe you're giving this training in different areas of the country or different areas of the province, and you've got to adjust for maybe language differences or cultural differences. You also want to assess whether the activities are happening as you have intended and if they need to be modified. So, for example, is the learning material actually being used by whoever is delivering the training, or are they training off their personal experiences and it becomes a motivational speech? So, things like that. Assess how the activities are being carried out. Third, we also seek to assess the outputs and the outcomes of these activities. So, outputs are the direct result of the trainings. In this particular example, outputs would be the number of people who have attended the training. And I could check that based on a register, for example, or I could run a survey at the end and count how many surveys I received, Outputs might be something like feedback from whoever has conducted the training. So they would tell me how the training went, and that is considered an output. These outputs lead to what we call outcomes, and outcomes are specifically the kind of higher level results, or in a sense, the effect that we have had on our beneficiaries. So, my outcomes are what my goals are when I've designed the project. For instance, I would like to know that people are now budgeting. That would be an outcome of the training. They're saving, they're having conversations with their families about how to manage money better. All of these are outcomes of the training, not necessarily outputs, because outputs is the immediate result on the day on the site, and outcomes are kind of the ripple effects of what has happened. Regarding outputs and outcomes, a monitoring and evaluation specialist would want to find out whether the outputs are what we expected, whether the outputs are actually giving way to the intended outcomes. And sometimes you have what we call unintended outcomes. So, for example, I could have a facilitator run this training in a particular area and find that one of the outcomes is that everybody has gone and quit their jobs to start a small business. Starting a small business is a good thing, quitting your job, not so much. So you might want to figure out, are there any unintended outcomes? Unintended outcomes are not always bad, they can be good. It's just things that you didn't quite foresee in your project design. And it's good to have feedback or data collection tools that will help you to see these things. And this is where monitoring and evaluation specialists would come in. Finally, and most importantly, the beneficiaries. An M&E specialist wants to see that the impact of the project is actually what we intended it to be. If we wanted to reach 5,000 people in a certain province, have we reached the target? If we wanted to reach 5,000 unemployed people, do we have unemployed people attending the trainings? Or do we have school children attending the trainings because we're holding it at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday? So you want to consider whether you are reaching your target population. You also want to consider whether you're doing any harm. And this is where, again, good data collection skills would come in. Harm would be an example of harm would be the previous example of people quitting their jobs, or people leaving their families because they feel they're holding them down, or any kind of unintended adverse consequence to the training. All of these things need to be measured by an M&E specialist, and very carefully so, considerately so, to make sure that your beneficiaries are kept front and center of your intervention. It's not just a project manager's duty to do that, it's also the M&E specialist's role to ensure that ethically your project is meeting the necessary standards. And these are the questions, a summary of the questions that monitoring specifically seeks to answer. If I was to summarize all of this into one definition, this is what I would say. Monitoring is the systematic process of collecting, analyzing, and using information to track a program's progress toward reaching its objectives and to guide management decisions. Now, monitoring, as you've heard already, focuses on processes. We're focusing on when and where activities occur, who delivers the activities, how many people or entities did we manage to reach. These are all process related questions. Monitoring is also conducted during the program implementation period. Sometimes it is referred to as process evaluation, formative evaluation, or even performance evaluation, and these terms are used interchangeably. I don't necessarily like the term performance evaluation when we're talking about monitoring, because performance evaluation specifically speaks to the evaluation component of MEL. Evaluation is what we will cover in our next video. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and look out for the next one. If you'd like to reach out For assistance or guidance with some M&E or MEL work that you may be doing, you can reach me on the email on the screen. You can also find my email in the show notes. If you'd also like training in this area or consulting assistance in this area, please do reach out to us at Datalab.Africa. Subscribe to our channel and follow the series if you have enjoyed this video. Thanks. Cheers.